Hello, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so happy to be making this video and letting you know that I am pregnant with my second baby. I'm over the moon, I'm so thankful, and I'm so happy to be filming and sharing my first trimester with you. My first trimester has not been easy at all. I've had bleeding, I've had urine infection, I've had really bad morning sickness. If you're new to my channel, my name is Sam, I'm 40, and when I say that I'm 40, like, I don't even feel like I'm talking about me, I still feel like my eternal age is 26. I'm married, I have a 4-year-old daughter called Cleo, and even with Cleo we had quite a long journey. I think it was about 3 years having her. It took us a long time to get pregnant, and then when I did, I had a miscarriage at 6 weeks. Then I just didn't get pregnant for like another 1.5 years, and I had a fertility investigation where they go in, I think it's called a laparoscopy, I'm not sure, one of those, and they go in via your abdomen and they flushed out my fallopian tubes to make sure there wasn't any blockages. I had polycystic ovaries, which they drilled my ovaries. I had fibroids. They decided that they weren't big enough to take out, so they left them in. Mine were 3 the size of a tennis ball. And what else did I have done? I can't remember, but yeah, that was my fertility operation. And I think about 1 year after I fell pregnant naturally. 2 days before we were meant to start IVF, I fell naturally pregnant with Cleo. So that is the story of Cleo. I think we've been trying for this baby, I think maybe for like the last 2 years. So I actually had a miscarriage in July last year, and I think we've been trying to get pregnant for 1 year. My best friend Natalie, gave me an ovulation test kit from Clear Blue, and it's meant to be very accurate in determining like where you are on your cycle. When you get to your 12th, 13th and 14th day, you have high fertility, then peak fertility, and then you see the egg and you're like, now, get ready Mel, we've got to do it now. So literally the first month, oh, I can feel the baby. Oh, so lovely. So literally the first month of my friend giving me the ovulation test kit, we fell pregnant. I was like, wow, this is amazing. But very shortly after, it started bleeding, and I went to A&E and I sat there, and I don't even know why I even bothered going to A&E, because they can't do anything. They can't give you anything. They can't save the pregnancy. They said, just go home, we'll call you tomorrow and come in for a scan. I went in for a scan, and I think I was 5 weeks, 5 days, and I had the scan, and they could see a sac, but they couldn't see an embryo. And for some reason, for me, that was a lot easier to accept that miscarriage, because there wasn't an embryo, there wasn't a heartbeat. So I remember them saying to me, you might be not as far along in your pregnancy than you think you are. And they booked me in for a scan, I think 2 or 3 days later, and by then I had naturally miscarried. So even though I did miscarry, it wasn't as heartbreaking as the miscarriage I had before Cleo, where I think I was 6 weeks, 5 days, and they saw the embryo, they saw the heartbeat, and the consultant said to me back then, you know, you've got less than a 5% chance of miscarrying. And then I later went home and I miscarried, and it all came out naturally. So this time around, and I was really traumatised by that first miscarriage. It really traumatised me. I think because I didn't have a child already, and because I had pinned all my hopes on that and the fact that the percentage that the consultant gave me. But this time round, when I miscarried in July, 5 weeks, 5 days, it was easier to accept, because there was no embryo, there was just an empty sac, and there was no heartbeat. So it was just easier for me mentally, emotionally, just to be like, okay, there was no baby. I didn't lose anything in a way. I think a lot of miscarriages to do with losing, like, when you know you're pregnant, all your dreams and hopes gets bundled into this little, egg. It's not just a baby, it's all your hopes and dreams. But I think when I knew then, I was like, okay, well, that's that, we'll keep trying. And we kept using the Clear Blue ovulation test stick, and I've been reading this book about it's all about the egg, so trying to eat well, reduced sugars and refined carbohydrates, just being a lot more mindful about like the fertility diet and just not eating crap. I thought, they say when you have a miscarriage, you're really fertile, you get pregnant again. Well, it just didn't work out that way. We've been trying and trying and trying, and I turned 40 in January. And even though I was really happy, because I feel really content in life, I really feel content having Cleo. I love her so much. She's my miracle baby. All babies are miracle, but she's my miracle rainbow baby, and I feel very content. But I always knew that I wanted to give her a sibling. I am an only child, and I remember growing up very lonely and always playing on my own. And even when I had friends come over, when they would go home, I'd get really horrible and nasty towards them, like, oh, I don't like you, I don't want you to go home. It's because I didn't want them to go home, I didn't want them to leave, I didn't want to be on my own. And I very much grew up having lots of hamsters and cats, so, and playing with Barbies on my own. So I always knew I wanted to give her a sibling, especially when me and Mel are no longer here. She will have someone that no matter what, hopefully they'll be there for each other. So I knew after that miscarriage last year, I wanted to keep going. I was aware that I was turning 40 in January, and I was just a bit worried about my egg quality, you know, fetal abnormalities, and, you know, even the chance of getting pregnant in your 40s is like 5%. So faced with all of this data, I was getting a little bit like just bogged down in it all. And I've joined, I think for the last year and a half, I've joined like a Baptist church. So I'm like a Christian. I go to Catholic church, I go to Protestant church, I go to, you know, all different churches. As long as they worship God and Jesus, I'm there. It doesn't matter for me what the denomination is. Anyway, so I've joined one of the groups in this church, and I got a prophecy come through. And I'm always that person in the congregation that hears other people having prophecies come true in their life, and I'm like, wow, I wish that happened to me. Well, it actually happened to me. So someone in the church that I don't know and who doesn't know me sent a message, like a voice note, to my like small group leader and said, God has just spoken to me and said that there's someone in the church that's trying to have a baby, and this message is for them, that they need to be patient for God's timing. There is a season for everything, and at the moment, right now, like in March, God is performing a clearing out. And they just need to be patient for God's season. And I received that message from my group leader, and I just cried and I cried and I cried. It was just a huge sense of relief that God was hearing my prayers, the prayers of like my mum, my dad, and that we would have a baby. Like, I knew when I got that prophecy, God would give us a baby. It was just a matter of timing. And when that lady was talking about a clearing out, and she's never met me, I actually lost someone 3 years ago in very tragic circumstances. I've only just like in the last year dealt with it. I've been going for therapy and stuff. And around about March time, I was coming kind of like towards the end of the therapy and feeling a lot better in terms of acceptance and stuff. So I mentally wasn't very well the last 3 years. I had alopecia, and I was very down because of this loss that I incurred. And maybe I can make another video about that, but it's not for today. But yeah, I lost them in very traumatic circumstances, and it, I think now looking back, I was suffering from PTSD, and I don't like to put labels on myself, but I honestly think that's what was happening to me. I had so much guilt. So that whole clearing out was a clearing out of all that guilt that I was feeling. And I mean, you know, I got that prophecy at the beginning of March. We tried in that cycle, and I found out I was pregnant, I think on the 5th of April. And I was so surprised. I was so surprised when I took the pregnancy test, because when I got that prophecy, I was like, oh, maybe 6 months time, that's God's timing, right? Well, no, God was like, Sam, this is happening now. And I was just blown away. When you see those two, like, I've been taking pregnancy tests pretty much every month, you know, because I just like want to know if I can drink, you know, if I'm going out, I'm like, can I drink? You know, I'm not due until 3-4 days. Can I drink or not? Can I drink? You know, I want to be careful. And then when I got those 2 lines, I was just like, you just stare at them, don't you? Because you're just in disbelief. So yeah, I was over the moon. I'm just looking at my little notes that I've written down here, and I had actually 4 episodes of bleeding. I think from about, I remember 4 weeks, 5 days. It was Good Friday, and I started bleeding, and it was kind of like old blood. You know, when you come to the end of your pregnancy, that's what I had. And I think at about 6 weeks, we were due to fly off to Rhodes. So this holiday was booked before I found out that I was pregnant. And we went out there. It was the first holiday I'd been abroad with my mum and dad as well, and Cleo, and I just really wanted to go, and I didn't want to cancel it because I was like, you know, I might miscarry again, and then, you know, we would have missed out on this amazing experience. When I got out there, I remember I went to bed one night and I wiped, and it was pink, and pink means fresh blood. And I remember I wiped like 5 or 6 times, and I was like, oh no, it's quite a lot now. It's quite a lot now. And I remember sitting down with my mum, and I was like, Mum, I don't think it's good news. Like, for me, bleeding in pregnancy is never a good sign. It always ends in miscarriage. So I just said to like, Mum, like, I know we're on holiday and stuff. My mum always wants to know what's going on with me. I was like, I just don't think it's going to happen this time around. So like, we both went to bed really kind of deflated. I remember I put on like like kitchen towel because I was just like, you know, I was just expecting more blood. Woke up the next day and it stopped. So I came home and again I was bleeding a little bit. So yeah, I've had definitely had 4 episodes of bleeding, and I went to see my GP when I got back from Rhodes. I think it was about 7.5 weeks then. She booked me in for an early scan at the early pregnancy unit, and I was just like, it's probably going to be like what happened last time. There's a sac, but there's no embryo. But we went in and I was literally so nervous. I feel like you're going to take an exam or a test, but you can't do anything to prepare, can you? And then when I lay on the chair and I scanned, and he was like, there's an embryo in there, and you see it. You see the little sac and the little, like, what looks like a bean, and you see this little flickering heartbeat, and I was just like, wow. Like, just wow, because week 5 and 6 for me is a really dangerous period. And, you know, seeing that heartbeat at 7.5 weeks was just a huge sense of relief. And if you've been through that same experience, you will know what I mean. It's just, I was so thankful, so thankful. And I remember the consultant saying to me, have you booked in for your midwife appointments yet? And I was like, no, because I just thought there's no point. I was half expecting to miscarry again. He said, well, you really need to now, because, you know, the risk of miscarriage is very low now. So yeah, I've booked in with my midwife, had my booking appointment, I think at about, what's this say here, maybe 8-9 weeks I had the booking in appointment, and the lady recognised me and she's like, I think I helped you and I was your midwife for when you had Cleo, and she couldn't believe like Cleo was 4 years old. Hi sweetie, I'm just filming a video. And gosh, that booking appointment was so long. It was like an hour and a half. It was so long. Hi sweetie. Hi darling. I'm telling all my friends about what I've got in my tummy. What have I got?
A baby.
A baby.
I'm going out with the girls tonight.
Get out with the girls tonight. So yeah, we had the booking appointment and it was an hour and a half. It was so long, and she went through all of my history and everything, and at the end of it she was like, because of your age, because you're over 40, then, you know, this is a high risk pregnancy, and because I had gestational diabetes before, again, that's a high risk thing to have. So I walked out like a little bit deflated. I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't even know what that means, high risk. Like, it doesn't sound good, does it? But I guess in a way it is a good thing, because it means I'm more closely monitored. I have more scans, and I have to see the midwife and have bloods done because of my history of diabetes. So she took a blood test, she took a urine sample, and good job that she did, because I got a call the following week to say I had a urine infection. They put me on 1 week's dose of amoxicillin. It was 1 tablet 3 times a day, and literally the day that I got the tablets, the amoxicillin, I felt so rough. I was so tired. I had just got back from a garage Butlins weekender, so I was tired from that, but I felt really drained. So it's a good thing that they test for urine infections. Morning sickness has been horrendous this time round. I think with Cleo, I just had food aversions. This time round, from, I think, what have I got written here? 6 to 9 weeks. So 6 to 9 weeks. I felt like I was hungover every single day. And for me, when I get hungover, it's not in my head. It's all in my stomach. My stomach is like acid. And everything, literally everything, was making me feel sick. And it was at its worst when I was in Rhodes. And you're on holiday there. There's restaurants everywhere. And every time I walk past somewhere, I was like, And one of the things that I love to do on holiday, and especially in Greece, is eat. And they've got amazing steak out there and lamb, and it's all like grass fed, and it's just like, oh. And I just like looked at it and I was like, oh. So do you know what I ended up eating when I was out there? Salads, a little bit of pizza. The funniest thing is that I was really like craving tomato soup, Heinz tomato soup. And guess how much it is out there? I mean, I don't know how much it is here. €4 a can. But yeah, I was really actually conscious that I wasn't eating like the right things. Normally I eat salads, like big bowls of salads, but I could only eat cucumber and tomato. I couldn't have all like the sauerkraut that I would normally have, the spinach, the olives. It was just very much cucumber and tomato. And when I came back home here, like anything that was I couldn't even cook food. Like even like the thought of meat and touching it and cooking meat, I was just like, Mel, you have to cook all of her meals now, all of Cleo's meals. I'm not interested in doing any of it. The only thing I wanted to make was like this soup. It's like a congee, like a chicken and rice porridge that Chinese people have, and I put carrots and spinach in it, and that was the only thing that literally sustained me for like those 3 weeks, 6 to 9 weeks, and I just felt so rough. I looked rough, I felt rough, I just don't remember it being that bad with Cleo. I remember when I had Cleo, when I was pregnant with Cleo for the first trimester, I couldn't tolerate the smell of onions and peppers because I remember Mel was making some fajitas and I was like, close that door, it stinks. It wasn't actually ever sick, but it was intense nauseousness, and now I'm a lot better. I'm still a bit like, don't really want to handle like beef and stuff like that, although I'll eat the beef. I've been eating out a lot at restaurants. I've been having all sorts, but yeah, it's a lot better now. I can't actually believe this, but I felt the baby really early on in this pregnancy. I've written it down. It's 9 weeks and 4 days. I was driving into Thornton Heath to meet my friends for dinner, and I felt like this little flutter. And I was like, wow, because I don't think I felt Cleo until she was about 16 weeks. And I remember it being like butterflies in my stomach. This one was more like a flutter, and I think they call it a quickening. It's been amazing. And like even today, I felt like here, just in my ribs, like this. Very gentle, not anything strong, not like a strong kick like you get when they're a little bit bigger, but like more like flutters. And
let it go, then I hold it back anymore. Let it go, then I hold it back anymore. I don't stand when it's going to stay. Let the door fly. They're gonna bother me anyway. Hi, I'm Olaf.
so at 12 weeks, we went for our 12-week scan, and actually that was 2 weeks ago, and I wanted to film this video sooner, but you know, like stuff and life gets in the way. And the 12-week scan's the big one, isn't it? I just felt like I was trying to enjoy every day of being pregnant because of what had happened before, but I also was just like, I just cannot wait for this 12-week scan. Like, and it was 12 weeks and 5 days, and I was like, oh, come on, like, come on. Anyway, so we get to the Fetal Institute. So where I live, we are very lucky to be able to have scans at the, there's a Fetal Research Institute, and it's a world-class leading place where they scan baby for like the nuchal scan, the 12-week scan, and they scan for abnormalities, and they do blood tests, and it's just, it's an awesome place. I remember when I went there with Cleo, and I was so impressed with like just how advanced everything was. So we go in, and I knew that the baby, like, there would be a heartbeat because I could feel the baby. I was more concerned about the abnormalities, the nuchal scan, the blood tests where they look for like the trisomies and things like that. So I was really, really nervous. And because I'm 40, you know, this geriatric person, yeah, I was just really, really worried. And because I've read in a book that once you turn 40, you know, your egg quality declines significantly. If you think about having a child in your 20s and then at your 40s, your eggs are like 20 years older in your 40s. And I was just like, oh man. Anyway, we went in, sat on the table, and we hadn't told Cleo then. I hadn't told her anything. I just, up until that point, I said, just be careful of Mummy's tummy. Mummy might have an egg, and if we pray hard to God, then it might turn into a baby. So I lie down, and they've got like this big TV up, as well as the ultrasound machine. And they start scanning, and as soon as they hear the heartbeat, they're like, congratulations. And I was like, oh, like, that's amazing. And Cleo was like, her eyes were like this. She was like, Mummy, Mummy. And then we obviously told her that she was going to have like a baby brother or sister.
What are you looking at, Cleo? Oh, brother. You don't know yet, do you?
She's going to be a big sister then.
Oh, you'll be a big sister.
Yeah, I think it's have you got two babies?
Just one baby. And they do lots of tests. They measure the baby's palate, they measure the nose, they obviously measure the space between the back of the head to measure it for like the risk of Downs. They want to see 2 arms, 2 legs. It's such a detailed scan. It is incredible. And they said to me, like, can you go to the toilet a minute and just empty your bladder, because we want to try and get this picture of the baby with 2 hands. Hi, darling.
Mommy, can you please put the lid on this?
Yeah. And while I was gone, there was a man in a really nice light navy blue.
Yeah, he was a professor, and he was in hospital, and Mummy, and he said to me, oh, there might be a sister.
Yeah. So,
And I said, no, I just said, I don't know.
So basically the professor that actually founded this research institute and pioneered the actual ultrasound techniques of looking at spaces between the baby's back of the baby's head that could determine whether it's at high risk of having Downs and other things that he has pioneered. He was actually the man that peeked through the door.
That was this big, the small.
He saw Cleo and he took a shining to her and he said, oh, is your mummy having a baby? Do we want to see if it's a boy or girl? And like at 12 weeks, I didn't even know that you could tell. So anyway, he goes in and he has a look at this scan. He said it's only a 65% chance, but apparently like there's a bone that in girls at the bottom of the back, it's flat, but with boys, it's a little bit more elevated. And because it was more flat, he said it's probably a 65% chance that it's a baby girl. And I was like, wow, because we never found out with Cleo. And I'm a lot more relaxed about it now because like, it's nice not knowing because you have incentive to push, but then it's also nice being able to know whether you can reuse all of Cleo's clothes and her baby stuff and nursery things. She's under the table. So yeah, there's a 65% chance, which isn't certain. I was actually convinced I was having a boy because the morning sickness was epic on an off-the-level scale. But it's quite nice that if we do have two girls, then like, two girls, you know, like how amazing is that? And so after the scan we got the bloods back and they actually confirmed that we're at low risk for fetal abnormalities. So that was a huge relief, a huge relief for me. So yeah, that's my first trimester update. Pretty crazy. Does this just happen to me, or is it because I'm over 40, or like what is it? Or I just feel like pregnancy and getting pregnant with, in my case, is like it's never plain sailing. I'm hoping that the second trimester is going to be less eventful and I won't have much to report. Now, one of the fun things is I get to show you my tummy. So, my tummy, like literally even at 6 weeks, I was like showing. And now, bear in mind, I've had a wonton noodle soup, so I've had quite a lot of liquid because it's soupy. So yeah, but this is my belly at 15 weeks. Hold on, here we go. 15 weeks. I mean, I think the baby's the size of a lemon or a lime, so most of that must be uterus, right? But there you go. Oh, I love my little belly. I love it. I love it. Boobs have pretty much stayed the same. But yeah, that's my... Oh, I just can't stop looking. Look, 15-week tummy tum tum. So yeah, that is my news. I'm so happy to be sharing it with you. And yeah, I'm just trying to enjoy every single day. I don't think I'll be getting pregnant again. I'd be so happy with 2. I'm so content with 1. I'd be like over the moon with 2. So yeah, that's my first trimester update. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm sure I'll be posting like my growing belly. And yeah, I'll see you soon in my next video. It'll probably be a bag one because I am a bit of a bag fanatic. I am a collector of bougie bags. And yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and sharing my good news. I'll see you very soon in my next one. Bye bye.